All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
She was born in a fun house. She grew up on a wild mouse, driving bumper car around the ground, and a big rig from town to town. She sleeps on a roller coaster. She looks like a girly poster. She did both Barnum and Bailey at these 3 shows daily. She's a carnival girl. She's more fun than a tilt-a-whirl. She's a laugh in the dark. She's an amusement park.
And welcome back, everyone. This is hour 2 of tonight's show, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and, of course, in Ontario on Classic 1220, and that is Classic 1220 CFAJ, and they stream around the world on classic1220.ca. We're going to be going to Tucson, Arizona this hour, Exonation, and Tucson is regarded as a city steeped in history with a diverse culture heritage that spans Native American, Spanish, and American influences. This rich background contributes to various ghost stories and legends, making it a fascinating place for those interested in the supernatural to visit. Now, while specific reports of hauntings vary, Tucson boasts a number of locations where paranormal activity has been acclaimed, including hotels, theaters, restaurants, and historic sites. Visitors and locals often share experiences of unexplained noises, shadowy figures, cold spots, and feelings of being watched. Some of those haunted locations have become popular attractions for ghost tours, as well as paranormal investigations. However, the concept of how haunted a place is can be subjective depending on the personal beliefs and experience that those who are doing the investigations believe in the paranormal. Joining me now is Becky McKiddy-Gydesen, and Becky is the person who is in charge of Tucson Ghost Company. And Becky, welcome back to the X Zone. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty darn good. I would imagine that this being the end of September, you and the other members of your teams are getting ready for the Halloween season.
Yes, things are really starting to pick up for sure.
Now, well, is there anything that happens in Tucson that is special when it comes to Halloween?
Not really to the city itself. We don't have any major, citywide things. But a lot of people do hold different events and do different things, business-wise, just not a whole city-wise type thing.
Now, what do you and your family do for Halloween?
Usually I do take the night off and we do trick-or-treating, although my one daughter is getting a little too old now to do that. So I think this year I'm going to stay home with her and pass out candy for the first time in forever.
Well, you know what? Passing out candy is my favorite thing to do at Halloween as well. But one of our little girls, her name is Foofy. She went out one year with Laura while I was working. And I just happened to do a clip of her when she was coming home, and I'd just like to play it for you in the audience.
Okay.
You're a pumpkin.
I was a pumpkin, a big orange pumpkin.
A big orange pumpkin. And were there a lot of children out there?
Not so much.
No? Did you get a lot of candy?
Yeah, I got a lot of candy. Mommy's eating all the chocolate bars.
Well, tell Mommy that's your candy, honey.
Okay.
Tell her.
Stop eating all my chocolate bars, Mommy. Daddy's sick.
Now, can you imagine doing a radio show and that actually happening live to air?
But I hate to say this, but I think the parents actually, do that all the time. They eat the kids' candy. So
But it was so funny that my wife actually got caught out of the mouth of babes. Oh my goodness! Now I was reading about Tucson and how haunted it is, and you've got a number of haunted locations there. You've got let me see, the Hotel Congress, Fox Theater, El Charro Cafe, St. Augustine Cathedral, Pima County Courthouse, Old Tucson Studios, Sabino Canyon, and the list goes on and on and on. Why is Tucson so haunted?
I really do think that it just kind of dates back to the fact that, we are the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
We do have so many different cultures. The Indians were here since, who knows when.
Yeah.
And then we had the Spanish move in, and, then the, Americans came. And it's just that mix of culture and the fact that things were just, like I said, just so wild back in the day. We're famous for, the gunfights and stuff like that out
Mm-hmm.
here. And I think that history just really plays in.
How many haunted locations have you and your team actually gone to?
Oh my goodness, you can't ask me to count that. Oh, business wise, we started getting into that probably a couple years in. The first couple years we did all residential cases, and I swear we've been on probably over 100 residential cases. And business wise, oh my gosh, I can't even start. A lot of those locations you named, I've been in or I've worked with, like Hotel Congress, Fox Theater, Old Tucson, all those. There's only a couple that you mentioned that I haven't been in. So we keep pretty busy out here.
Now, during the investigations that you and your team do, have you ever come across something that has just scared the dickens out of you?
I get asked that all the time. What I like to respond with is it's that jump scare that you get, like when you go through, one of those fake haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that, it scares you, but then after you catch your breath, you're like, oh, that was cool. Let's do that again. And that's what I've experienced. There's been a lot of times where I get like that little jump scare, and then when I realize that it was something paranormal, I'm asking them to repeat it and do it again. So no, I don't get scared. It's just that, shock type thing that you get.
Are more and more people still finding interest in the paranormal?
I think so. I think it's actually becoming more popular. I think more people have an interest in it. It's I've been doing this for 11 years professionally, and I've seen more and more people be more open-minded to it over the past 11 years.
Has there been any significant breakthrough when it comes to the establishment of hardcore evidence that life does really go on after we shed the meat suit and that ghosts are real?
I like to think there has been, but if you run into a skeptic, they're going to tell you, of course not. So I think it just kind of depends on who you talk to. I personally have witnessed so much and seen so much, and I have captured things that I can't explain, and I think is, some great evidence. But to other people, they're going to, tear it apart and say that it's nothing. So to me, yes. To other people, maybe no.
Becky, what would lend somebody to give you a call and ask you and your team to come and do a paranormal investigation at their home?
A lot of times it's just they're experiencing things that they themselves cannot explain, and sometimes they think they're crazy, and so they just kind of want validation that they're not crazy, and they call us in. And in those cases, especially when we do find something, they're so relieved because they feel like they're validated and they feel like they haven't lost their mind. So that's what calls us in a lot of times, is just the feeling that, something's going on and they want to make sure that they're not losing their mind type deal.
And how long does it take you and your team to do an investigation to come to a conclusion of one sort or another?
Total together, I would say it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to complete, because we do the intake form, we do our research, then we actually investigate, and then it takes about 2 weeks to review all the evidence.
And is that video and EVP evidence?
Yes, that is. We do both.
Wow. And where do you find your strongest evidence comes from?
The EVPs for sure.
I'm still baffled on how EVPs work. Is there been any explanation that you heard of to explain what exactly happens with an EVP?
You know, I've actually been trying to research that, because, as I tell my team, in order for us to prove the paranormal exists, we have to knock everything out first, and we have to be skeptics. And so I look into it and I try to find explanations, but in all honesty, I really can't. I can't explain where this voice is coming from when I have, a blank recorder and nothing on it except for me and, my other investigator talking, and then all of a sudden there's that voice right in between us. I can't explain that. I don't know where it comes from.
And of course, this is when you use a digital or an analog recorder. So it really doesn't matter.
Yes.
What was it like the first time you actually heard a voice on an EVP that you had taken where you had not been able to hear it at the time of the spirit or entity saying it on that part of the tape?
It's so funny, because it's something that I will never, ever forget. It was on my very first investigation that I did as my own team. And I remember so clearly because of the fact that when we were there, I felt something on the back of my neck. And I wasn't sure what it was. And I ended up saying, well, maybe, my hair fell out of my ponytail or whatever. But when we were playing back the EVP, you hear, no, it was me. And that it sent chills down my spine when I heard that, because, the spirit was admitting to touching me when I had no clue what was going on. And it still gives me chills to hear just that one EVP, because of the fact that it was my very first one. It was the first time a spirit actually came out and admitted to touching me and doing something. And it was amazing. And I'll never get over that EVP.
I was just going to ask you if you had ever been touched by an unseen force, and, doesn't that creep you out?
In all honesty, it does not. Even when I get scratched. It does not freak me out. It was so funny because we had an investigation in Tombstone. I work with a company called Undertaker's Espresso Bar.
All right, let's hold it right there, because this is too good for me to cut into it as you're talking about it. So we'll take this break. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest, Becky Gydesen, visit her online at www.tucsonghostco.com. And we'll be back after this very short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell. And you can always listen to us at www.xzbn.net. Don't go away.
And a big rig from town to town. She sleeps on a roller coaster. She looks like a girly poster. She did both Barnum and Bailey at these 3 shows daily. She's a carnival girl. She's more fun than a tilt-a-whirl. She's a laugh in the dark. She's an amusement park.
You were a pumpkin.
I was a pumpkin, a big orange pumpkin.
A big orange pumpkin. And were there a lot of children out there?
Not so much.
No? Did you get a lot of candy?
Yeah, I got a lot of candy. Mommy's eating all the chocolate bars.
Well, tell Mommy that's your candy, honey.
Okay.
Tell her.
Stop eating all my chocolate bars, Mommy. Daddy's sick.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the mash.
he He did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash. To my love Natari in the castle east. To the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to catch a jolt from my electrodes.
They did the mash.
They did the monster
The
mash.
monster mash.
It was a graveyard
They
smash.
did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
Welcome back. Becky Gydesen is our special guest, TucsonGhostCo.com. And I'm sorry, Becky, I had to stop you before you started that story because I just didn't want to interrupt you as we got the ball rolling. So please continue.
Oh, not a problem. We were talking about being touched and being scratched.
Yes.
And
yeah.
we did an investigation at Undertaker's Espresso Bar. It's in Tombstone, Arizona. I work with them. Great company, very haunted. But the one thing I got to say for sure is watch what you say as soon as you enter a building. That's all I've got to say. Because I was talking to my other female investigators and they were like going through breakups and having, issues. And so, that girl power, I came together and I said, yeah, boys can suck, And apparently I made the spirits very upset by saying that. Because about 15, 20 minutes later into the night, I'm sitting there and I'm like leaning forward so I'm not rubbing against anything. And I feel this burning sensation on my back.
Oh.
And so I told my investigators, I said, I've got a burning on my back. And they're like, do you want us to check? And I said, sure. And so I lift up, the bottom of my shirt. And they're like, oh my God, Becky, you're scratched. And I'm like, oh. And they're like, aren't you freaking out? I'm like, no. It doesn't even freak me out anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. And then a few minutes later, it was, burning even worse. So I told them and they looked and they're like, it's more red, that it's actively turning redder. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like in shock that I'm not freaking out by this.
Yeah. Becky, how do we explain that there's actual evidence of you being touched, but the ghost has no form. It has no mass.
Yeah.
And yet you were scratched. How does this make sense?
It doesn't. I cannot explain it. I know their energy is a lot different.
Yeah.
And the way that they're able to do that, it's actually amazing, which I guess is why I don't take it as anything bad. I've been scratched a lot of times. I never feel threatened by it at all. I'm thinking it's just their way of somehow getting my attention or, telling me something like, hey, whatever. But I don't understand how they can do it, but I find it amazing. And so I don't feel threatened by it at all.
Is there any chance that you could actually get infected by their touch, their scratch, because I don't know. This is new to me where we have to explain how a scratch works,
right?
Given by a spirit.
Luckily, I've never been scratched deep enough to where it's bled.
Oh, I see.
So it's that redness of it, and then after a while it fades and you can't even tell. But they took pictures of it and they shared it to the other team members like, oh my God, look, Becky got scratched, and she didn't even freak out about it. But, I haven't ever been harmed bad enough to where I would have to worry about, I guess, seeking medical help in any shape, way, or form. It's just been like attention getting is how I would explain it.
But isn't it possible that in them trying to get your attention, for example, you could be pushed down a flight of stairs or you could have a door slammed on your hand? Or is it just like you said, they keep trying to get your attention?
For other people, they may have experienced things like that. But for me, it's just them getting my attention. They've done a lot of things to get my attention, but they've never caused me any major harm. It's been, the worst that has happened is me feeling sick or being scratched. That's it.
With all these different places that you go to that are haunted, uh, have you ever thought of something might be coming home with you?
Oh, it does.
Oh, it does.
You like how I'm casually like, yeah, it does. Yeah, I've been followed many times. Um, in fact, that first investigation that I ever did as my own team, I had a spirit that followed me around for a good probably 6 months. He and my whole family basically saw him and experienced something with him.
So the spirit actually did a full manifestation.
No, more shadow. People, my family saw like the shadow figure.
There's another thing that I'd like to ask you. How can this entity be a shadow figure when it has no mass that can block out light?
I guess it's the same way that they can actually manifest and appear too. It's just getting that energy together. And I guess to me, the shadow form is they got energy, but not enough to appear in a full form.
Do you think that this could be one of the reasons why when television producers and camera people go into do a shoot in a place that is haunted, that their batteries drain very fast?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I've had that happen too. I've, gone into places
Mm-hmm.
with things fully charged and the battery just completely die.
How do you determine which place you're going to do an investigation and how deep that investigation is going to be? I know we talked about a residence before, but let's take a location, one of the haunted hotels in Tucson. How do you determine how you're going to do that investigation?
Well, when it comes to bigger locations, I definitely need more members of my team to go with because that is something that we have to divide and conquer. So we each have to take different sections and each run, equipment and cameras and things like that. And we stay, as long as basically we're allowed to stay. And we just take it from there. Some places are easier to investigate because they're smaller and you don't need as many people and you don't have as much to cover. But when you have bigger locations, you definitely have to take, more time, more people, and really, dig into it because you want to, like hotels, you want to cover as many rooms as you can get in as possible because the spirits may try to hide from you and go to different areas. So you want to make sure you go to all the areas you can go to try to explore and capture something.
Now, what type of equipment would you use on an investigation? Let's use that hotel that we were using hypothetically.
Well, for the hotel, we would be taking a DVR camera, trail cams, body cams. We would be taking like REM pods, laser grids, definitely our recorders, and any handheld, equipment like your K2s, ghost meters, things like that.
When people are doing haunted investigations, I hear a lot that they come across cold spots. And what is a cold spot and what makes it appear or disappear or just be there?
Cold spots are basically, they say it's the spirits, around you, that they can create that cold spot. And how they do that, I have no clue. But it's really funny because everyone only talks about cold spots, but I've actually experienced the opposite. I've experienced warmth. So there'd be times that I'm cold and I will experience something warm coming near me. So I've experienced both.
How do you select the members of your team? Do they each have a specific expertise?
Yes and no. When we first bring on team members, everyone's in training. They stay in training for at least a year. We teach them how to basically be open-minded skeptics. And during that year that they're in training, we start to get to know them and see where their expertise is, so to say. So like just recently, I'm so happy about this. We finally got a historian, a really good historian on our team. She started out and we saw when she would do the research and, do all that stuff that she was wonderful with it. And so we approached her and we said, okay, you're really good with this research. How do you feel about becoming our historian? And she loved it. So she goes to, all the archives and, everywhere she can go to dig up information. And, she's thrilled to be doing that. And that's what we do. We try to see, what they're good at and put them in that position on the team.
Is there any one place in a house that you have been called to do an investigation that is more active than another part of the house?
Yes. There was one situation that we went out and there's like, I guess they call them like cabins. And there was one in particular cabin that was more haunted than the other areas. And we had more activity in that one little area than we did in other areas.
But what I'm trying to establish is, let's say, from the private homes that you've investigated, is there any one specific spot in all the homes that seem to be the most concentrated part for paranormal activity, or is it just wherever?
It's just wherever. We have done homes with attics.
Yeah.
And that old-fashioned saying of, what's in the attic? Yeah, we've investigated attics before, and they usually have a lot of activity. I don't know why, but they do. And it's rare out here to have like basements or attics, but I remember that attic one very well because of the fact that we went up in the attic and we couldn't even sit up straight, and we were sitting up there for hours investigating. So.
Did you find anything?
Yes, we actually had things move on us while we were up there.
Holy cow. You and I had to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Becky McKiddy-Gydesen is our special guest, X-Zone Nation. She is with Tucson Ghost Co.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario. And you can listen to us and all the other great programs that we produce here at the X-Zone. That's the X-Zone Broadcast Network. All you need to do is go to www.xzbn.net, and I will guarantee you there is something for someone at that website. Everything from the paranormal to space stories, Planet X, Flash, and much more. We'll be back. Whatever you do, don't go away.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash. From my love Notari in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to catch a jolt from my electrode.
They did the mash.
They did.
Welcome back, everyone. Becky McKiddy-Gydesen is our special guest. We're talking about ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night in Tucson, Arizona. Becky is the lady responsible for Tucson Ghost Company. Their website is tucsonghostco.com. Becky, let me ask you something. I over the years, I've talked to a number of paranormal investigators, and they all talk about these different locations that are well known to all paranormal investigators. For example, the Waverly. And it seems that no matter who goes there, no matter when they go there, they always get something. Now, I would be thinking that after all these years of investigators going to these locations, whether it's the Waverly or any other location, that the spirits would be kind of fed up by now, and they'd either leave, go somewhere else, or they would just be quiet when the investigation teams get there. Uh, what is your logic or reasoning for this?
You know, in all reality, I think when a spirit knows that you have the chance to talk to someone, a lot of times they're drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to be, quizzed, though. I can tell you that right now. They don't like those target questions. But if you're going there and you're, thinking outside the box, then yeah. I also think that what happens is that spirits know that investigators go there.
Okay.
So that also attracts them to that location. So they may not even have anything to do with that location, so to say, but they know that investigators go there, so they're drawn to it too.
But if they've been investigated by so many teams, so many investigators, and they haven't made satisfactory contact to this point, why would they keep on going?
Maybe just because of the fact that they are trying to get across something, and maybe until they do, they're going to stay there. Who knows? I mean, we don't have all the answers, unfortunately. And just like, I was followed around for that, 6 months.
Right.
And for him to just completely be gone after that 6 months, I have no clue why. I mean, I might have a clue. I think my kids kept blaming him for stuff and he got sick of it. But yeah. Other than that, I don't have a clue.
Do you or any other members of your team actually send people to the light?
I hate to answer that because we don't know for sure usually, but I can say that I had one situation to where I do believe I did help the soul move to the light.
Mm-hmm.
And he was someone that was haunting me after an investigation and came home with me. And I think I helped him. I'm hoping I did, because the energy in my house shifted after I said a prayer for him, which is what he asked me to do. And I'm hoping that that's all that it took, and that he moved on, and the location he followed me home from hasn't said anything about him coming back. So I'm hoping he moved on, but I can't say 100% for sure.
Do the religious beliefs of the investigator have any relevance to the investigation and the results of an investigation?
I do believe so, which is why basically we have to kind of keep those beliefs in the back of our mind when we're doing these things. But there's some religions that believe what I'm doing is working for the devil, and that everything I'm encountering is demons. So it really depends on your outlook, I think. But I always tell my investigators that if they are tied to a certain religion, and if they believe that, a certain, something will protect them, go ahead, take it, hold on to it, whatever they need to do to make sure that they feel secure and that they're okay. I encourage them to do that, but I also remind them that they have to put those beliefs on a back burner in order to help the client, though.
Becky, how often is it that you come across a demon?
Never.
Okay.
I've come across grumpy, but never a demon.
No, because I've seen these shows on YouTube and on the television where these demonic entities are found in the house and everybody gets chased out, and I kind of say to myself, well, that's just TV, that's just entertainment of one sort or another. It's so that's all Hollywood kind of stuff, huh?
Yes. I mean, do they exist? I don't personally know. I don't want to rule it out, but at the same time, I can tell you it's not as common as everyone makes it out to be. I've been doing this for 11 years. I've been on, I can't even count how many investigations, and I've been in some of the worst possible places. And like I said, the worst has been like a grumpy old man type thing that I ran into.
Because you do so many investigations and you do tours and a lot of other great things, special events with your company.
Hmm.
Do you ever get acquainted with the spirits of the haunted locations that you go to? Do they know you as Becky? Do they look forward to seeing you and interacting with you?
I think so. I hope so. I've had my name called many, many times on
Hmm.
EVPs. That's like one of the most common things. And when I don't hear my name, I kind of get disappointed because I get so used to it. I know that some of them are very protective of me, like JoJo's, which used to be La Cocina. I've been working with them for basically all my 11 years, and the spirits there do know me, so they are more active with me than they are with other people. And one is very protective of me, so if anyone ever comes in and starts like making fun of me or teasing me, you will smell cigars
Oh,
around me, and that is him staying by me because he's protecting me, and he always smells like cigars. And I'll have people be like, "You smell like cigars," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's the cowboy. He's protecting me right now."
how can you tell whether or not when you go to, I'm going to talk about a house here, how do you know when a spirit that is interacting with a family and the family doesn't want the spirit there because they really don't know who or what the spirit is? And you and your team come in and this, through the course of your investigation and the research, establish that this spirit is actually a relative of the people that are being haunted because they themselves want to have contact with the spirit. Has that ever happened?
Um, it's rare that something like that happens, and most of the time, I think it's like the opposite. They're kind of hoping it's a relative,
Mm.
and it's not, and we hate to disappoint them. Um, but sometimes it puts them at ease. But whenever we find out that it's not the relatives, we always like to reassure them that that means their relative has crossed over and they're
Right.
in their happy place, and that usually makes them feel better. Then
When it comes to doing investigations, have you ever come across a child?
yes.
How do you find, you're a parent. I'm a
Yeah.
parent, a grandparent. How does it make you feel when you are approached through the investigation by a child who has passed and is now on the other side?
It makes you sad, because it is a child
Hmm.
and they didn't get to, live out their full life. But at the same time, I kind of, get like that special relationship with them, I guess, being a mom. Um, and that makes them drawn to me more. And we have one little girl spirit that is at JoJo's that I've actually seen. And at first glance, I thought it was my daughter because I only like saw her out of the corner of my eye, and I thought it was my daughter. Um, and I yelled at my daughter, and she didn't answer me. And then I found out she was in another room the entire time. But this little girl spirit is very drawn to me. She's very drawn to my girls, and she just loves to, you know, interact with us when we're there. And it kind of has that special feeling, that she's there. And of course, I'm sad, that she is there, but we try to do what we can for her when we're there until, for whatever reason, she moves on.
Becky, has there ever been any research done to see what the similarities are between investigators? Um, could there be something within your DNA that makes you more susceptible to being a successful paranormal investigator than another person would be? Is there any research done on the investigator, or is it just pointed to the paranormal activity that they're investigating?
Um, a little bit of both. I mean, you're going to have the haunted locations to where everyone in your group has some type of interaction.
Hmm.
And then you're going to have the situations to where they cling to a certain someone, and usually that certain someone is because they're more sensitive or, things like that. I always tell my team that we have to be skeptics and we have to push aside, the sensitivity, things like that. But to be quite honest with you, I think it's something that kind of runs in your family because my grandma was very sensitive to the paranormal. She's, would talk about how she would see ghosts in her dreams, be visited. She would hear things, see things. So I think it's something that does kind of pass through the bloodline because I have seen things, I have heard things. And I think it's just something that maybe I inherited from my grandma.
Yeah, I've often wondered that, and it kind of makes sense that if you have the blood or the genes of someone who has also had the ability to connect with those on the other side or interact with those on the other side, then others down the line of the family would also have that ability.
It probably, because like I said, my whole entire life, I would sense things that other people wouldn't. And my grandma was the same way. So I think that was something that I got from my grandma. My grandma was like the only one that ever talked about it and was the only one that would say anything. But then again, in those days, you never really did say anything.
That's right. Becky, stand by. You and I have to take our final break, not only
Okay.
for this hour, but the final break for tonight's show. Becky Gedesen is our special guest, www.tucsongghostco.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and we're coming to you around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and X Zone Broadcast Network. Visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Those schoolgirl days of telling tales and writing nails are gone. But in my mind, I know they will still live on and on. But how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfume? It isn't easy, but I'll try. If you wanted the sky, I would ride across the sky in letters that would soar 1,000 feet high to serve with love.
And welcome back. I have to make something right with you, the X Zone Nation, tonight. I have been giving you the wrong web address for Becky. It's TucsonGhostCompany.com. TucsonGhostCompany.com. And Becky, I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay.
No. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Becky, I understand you have some special events coming up.
Yes, I do actually. I have my normal stuff that's happening. My Tucson Ghost Tour, which happens here in Tucson, of course, and that's the walking tour. We changed the route, so we have a brand new route on that, and it's less walking. So that's going to be good for people because it gets so hot still here. It's still like 100 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think we're hitting like 100 this week still, so it's still very hot. And then I have my Tucson Ghost Experience, which is on selected Monday nights, which is at JoJo's in Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two new things that I'm doing, which is Hotel Tombstone and Undertaker's Espresso Bar Ghost Hunts in Tombstone, Arizona. So I get to travel to Tombstone, and Tombstone's wonderful. But my special event, which I'm really excited about, is I'm working with the Arizona History Museum again. And they're doing a family event from 5 to 8 where it's trick-or-treating, and they have like people dressed up as characters, and they have performers and all that cool stuff. And then from 9 to 10 p.m., we get to see who's the brave of heart and do a ghost hunt there.
Wow.
And it's very haunted because it is a history museum. They have a ton of historical artifacts there. And it's an amazing place. And they have like a mock-up of an old mine, but the stuff in the mine actually came from real mines. And oh my God, that mine is so creepy, and there's so much paranormal activity in there. It's amazing. I love it there.
Where, in your opinion, is the most haunted location in Tucson?
In Tucson.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, I've had so many great experiences at so many different places. JoJo's really good. You know, I usually have experiences there. Fox Theater, oh, that is an awesome place to work with and, you know, do things with. If I have to pick one, oh my gosh.
All right, give me your top three.
My top three, okay, it would be JoJo's and Fox Theater.
Right.
And then I would say probably Pioneer, but we're not allowed to actually investigate the Pioneer.
How come?
They don't want to admit it's haunted, but yet everyone in town knows it is.
So it's the best kept secret in town.
Yeah. I've been in there before, unofficially.
Right.
And I had a lot of things happen, and I got a lot of EVPs, but they won't actually let paranormal teams go in there.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
If you could give the listening audience tonight an idea of what it takes to be a paranormal investigator, what would that be?
I would like to say be fearless, but, you know, there's times that I get, you know, a little bit of that jump scare. I would definitely say if you want to make a difference in this field, you have to go in as an open-minded skeptic. You can't go in there and believe everything is paranormal. And that's just, you know, for a good example, like I said, I work with Undertaker's Espresso Bar, and they are very haunted. I think every single night I've had something happen whenever I've been there. But they have an ice machine, and it will drop ice, and it will make this loud, like, knocking sound.
Right.
And it makes you jump. It's so loud. And some people jump to the conclusion that it's a ghost. And it's like, no, it's the ice machine. And you have to be willing to, you know, figure stuff like that out. You can't just go around going, oh, well, you know, that was paranormal. No, you have to get up. You have to look. You have to figure it out. And I think that's the most important thing is, you know, debunking when you do this for a living.
Are there any courses that you can suggest that listeners who are interested in becoming a paranormal investigator can take? Or is there any homework that they should do?
You know, I would definitely say, you know, do some public ghost hunts with someone, you know, reliable, not just, you know, someone that's throwing stuff together, but with like a paranormal team, do some ghost hunts, read all kinds of books and different types of books. You know, don't just go for, you know, one particular author. Read a bunch of them. Like I had like Ghost Hunting 101 books and stuff like that. As far as courses, I really don't know of any that you can really take. I do YouTube videos explaining things. I know that there's other investigators that do that. I've actually been thinking about starting to do some classes, and that was going to be something that I looked into maybe starting to do after my busy season, because right now I don't have the time with everything coming up. But, you know, check out YouTube, check out books, you know, see if anyone does, you know, offer courses. But definitely, you know, do your research. Don't just jump into it thinking you know everything, because I've been doing this for 11 years and I still don't know everything.
In your experience, are there more encounters that you have had of male spirits or more encounters with female spirits?
I think it's about equal, but to be quite honest with you,
Hmm.
it tends to be the males that follow me around more than the females.
Okay. Well, that would make sense, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
Because I don't know, the way I'm looking at it is that a gentleman would rather make contact with a young lady than another gentleman. And
Right.
especially
Yeah.
if they're spirits and they can sense or they understand what your experience is, how long you've been doing this, that they would try to make contact with you.
Yeah. And, every time I've been followed home, I think I've been followed home once or twice by a child spirit. But most of the time it's been male spirits that have followed me home or appeared to me or done whatever it is that they want to do.
It's the fall season, as you well know, and here in Niagara we have a lot of uh, special events that are going on, and there is always these little vendors who have antiques that are for sale. I guess they're kind of like an outdoor garage sale. Uh,
Hmm.
what would happen if somebody bought something at one of these vendors, brought it home, and discovered that what they had done was brought home a haunted article or a haunted piece of furniture? What do they do?
They call someone like me. And then I go in and I can give them advice on what to do once we figure out what it is.
Hmm.
Or they can give me the haunted piece, which I have had that happen. So,
Have you heard of any more haunted dolls being discovered?
if you go on eBay, they're all over the place. But,
No, not those kind. I mean the real ones.
um, you know, I personally have a couple that I think are haunted, but I think I kind of calmed the spirits because when I first brought them in, they were
Hmm.
like really active, and now they haven't really done anything. Um, Haunted objects do exist, but I think it's very rare compared to what people think. I think people think, oh, if I go to the antique store, I'm going to bring home a ghost. No, it does happen, but not as common as people think.
And I think one of my final question is going to be, are there many haunted schools? No, I'm not talking about the schools that were built a long time ago, but I'm talking about modern schools that you've heard that are haunted.
Yes. And I think it's more. I mean, there has been deaths at some of these schools,
Hmm.
but I think it's more of an energy that resides there, not necessarily a specific haunt, but more like something residual. You have that energy all the time of kids, running back and forth and doing this and that, and I think that energy stays. So I don't really think it's a haunting, as in, always like a particular ghost, so to say, but more like that energy that gets left behind and replays like that record player.
And why do people think that graveyards are haunted? Isn't that the last place a spirit would like to go?
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there are some that are haunted, but for the most part, a spirit is going to go somewhere that they felt more at home, or, somewhere that they enjoyed. They're not going to necessarily hang out at their grave because that would be pretty boring.
Yeah, not only that, but very sad for anybody who went there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's very rare. I think the only time that you're going to really encounter that is possibly when you move the grave from like one
Mhm.
area to another. Then they might be a little upset because you moved their grave type thing. But otherwise, I think they're just going to go somewhere that they enjoyed. They're going to go to their house, or
The
a
local
park
pub, yeah.
or whatever.
And of course, I've heard of homes that were not haunted until people started renovating and changing things around within the home.
Yes, that's because the spirit all of a sudden becomes restless, and they're not happy with the fact that you're changing their environment.
Becky, as always, time flies when we're having fun together. Thank you very much for joining us, and please give my best to your family and to your team. And I look forward to the next time you join us here, Becky. So thank you once again, and take care in
Thank
Tucson,
you.
Arizona. And Exonation, if you'd like to contact Becky Gydesen, the correct email, the correct website is TucsonGhostCompany.com. And of course, we'll make sure that is on our website as well. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. I'd like to thank my senior producer over here, Craig West, my wife, who is my senior executive producer, and each and every one of you for listening. And we'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone, a place that is, well, how can we describe the X Zone? It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. So until tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, remember, my friends, take care of each other. We are brother's keeper. And always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.